Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sequoia Project podcast, the podcast dedicated to talking about the ins, outs, ups, and downs of business. My name is Coby, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dale.
That was smooth as shit. That was
That was
smooth as shit.
beautiful.
You might get on FM radio for that stuff. That was really nice.
Absolutely.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. What are we this time? Episode
7.
Is
No.
it?
Yeah,
Episode 7.
I think.
Okay. Great.
You're
Anyway,
getting ahead of yourself.
let's talk about what we are going to talk about today, because we've covered a lot of stuff in the previous weeks about mindset, questions, a lot of things that frequently asked questions, stuff like that. And then this week I want to jump into a little bit more. I want to get a little bit more specific. So if you've listened from episode 1 to now and you're thinking, man, there's some good stuff in here, there's probably some bad stuff in here, whatever you like. But there is, I want to start a business. I want to, get into the actual foundation of starting a business. That's what we're going to talk about today. So first order of business is going to be what you need to start a business. Then there's going to be 2 categories of that. There's going to be the personal side of things, and there's going to be the actual business side of things. We're going to tell you what you don't need, contrary to popular belief. And then we're going to go, how do you get that idea? How do you come up with that idea where you just go, bang, this is something I can try. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be sexy, but it has to be simple. So we're going to try and cover that today. We also have some other things that we're going to throw in there and try just to have some fun with it. We don't even need to mention what they are, but we might just cut to a completely different segment and have some fun with that. So, Cobes, do you want to kick us off on our first step of starting this business, or talking about starting this business?
No, I will. So we're going to bring it in, starting off probably with a section of sort of what we think we do need when it comes to starting a business, because I think that's going to be really important. There is so many misconceptions out there for what people believe that they do need around it. And I'm going to start off with one of the biggest things that I think that you need, which isn't even a physical thing. I think it's just drive. I want to do it. That is something that's going to be so necessary, and especially in like your early stages of business, when you're not going to be growing as fast, you're not going to be doing $1 million of sales, of course, within your first day, unless you're some kind of just prodigy at everything.
That's a unicorn.
Yeah, exactly. But you need the drive. That is going to be the one key thing that's going to take you. Like, you're going to need it from the start of your business. You're going to keep needing it when you're scaling your business. You're going to need it towards the end of your business. You're going to constantly need that actual physical, emotional, and just mental drive to get something.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think even in the early days of you and I talking together, and like I know from my story, my journey, is you said to me like, oh, I'll do whatever it takes, kind of thing. Like, you just let me know what I need to do and I'll do it. And you remember me saying and you're like, oh, like, but I don't have any skills, or I don't have any experience and all that kind of stuff. And I told you, I don't need someone with those things. What I need is a dog. What I need is someone who just hounds and hounds and hounds and gets it done.
Bark.
And that's that drive that's that drive that Coby's talking about. There is, you can, like, skills are taught and they're learned. You can teach, if you know how to do something, you can teach anyone anything, but you cannot teach them how to want to learn. So if you have the drive, if you have the willingness to get in there and get your hands dirty, and even if you get a couple of no's, you want to keep pushing, this is something you want to do, that's really step number 1. That's something that you have to have, and it's personal. It's absolutely personal what you need.
It's the very
first thing on my list. Yeah, absolutely. The first thing on my list is that you need to have an understanding of what the journey is going to look like. And I think that's important, because if I told you to get in your car and drive to Queensland right now, and Coby's in Victoria, just so you know. If I said, get in your car and there's going to be no street signs or anything like that, drive to Queensland, you'd probably never get in your car, because you go, well, what, like, I don't know, do I turn left? Do I turn right? You probably go, that's so risky that I might end up in Western Australia because I don't know where I'm going, that you would never start. So having an understanding, and you don't have to know every detail. Like, we've talked about the staircase analogy on this podcast before. You have to know every detail, but having an understanding of what it's going to look like helps you get in the car and go, all right, cool. I need to go to the end of the street. I need to turn left. As long as I keep my ocean on my right, I'm going to be going in the right direction. If you had these kinds of things, you'd feel a lot better about starting the journey. So for me, it's about just understanding from where you are now to like that first step. Okay, so right now I don't have a business, but I have an idea. I know what I need to get that idea rolling. I know how much I'm going to have to spend, and I know that I need to get one customer. If you just knew that, getting in the vehicle is going to be a lot easier. So that's the first thing for me. Any notes on that, Coach?
No, I think that's completely fair. I mean, if you told me to, yeah, like you said, if you told me to just get in a car and drive to Queensland, I couldn't even tell you which way to point. First of all, I've really shit sense of direction. That's on me. I didn't even know that the ocean should be on my right side, so that's more information for me.
Yeah, for sure. But that's the thing. I think, just not knowing is the scariest part about starting.
Oh
So
yeah, 100%.
just having some sort of idea in your head is going to be a big
The
thing. What else have
very
you got on
basic
your list?
foundation.
Yeah,
An
100%.
idea. You need an idea of what you want to do. I mean, like, well, that's very subjective actually. Because
You
when
disagreed
I
with
spoke
yourself.
to you, I did, yeah. I'm the problem. No, when I came to you, I didn't have an idea. I knew I wanted to start a business. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I think it's you don't need an idea straight away in the sense to start, but you do need an idea of where you want to go, I suppose, your end outcome. Because I feel
Uh-huh.
like from there, once you have that idea of where you wanted to get that end outcome, you can completely reverse engineer how to get there. If you
Mm.
go like, I want a Lamborghini or something, you're like, okay, cool. I need like 800,000 to $1 million to get this Lamborghini that I want. Then you
Nice
have to figure
Lamborghini.
out how to. I know I've never seen a Lamborghini in my life. Is that how much they cost?
That actually cost less than that. So like that was impressive.
It's a really nice Lamborghini that I want.
Yeah.
Apparently, I just go down to Kmart and get the Lego one.
Yeah, no, that's better. And you can have 10
But
of them.
I can't. How much do you think Lego is? Oh my god!
All right, we
I,
need it. We're getting on the wrong topic.
but you can reverse engineer that. You know that you need to make $1. You know that you need to bring some kind of business. You know that you need a customer. You need to figure out what kind of customer that you need there. So I think you need that idea. Do I want to sell something online? Do I want a service based business? Do I want anything like that? I think having an idea of where you want to go and is going to be so important to understand how you're going to get there from that sort of reverse engineering aspect. Like when I came to you, I had like all my goals and everything set out there, but I didn't have a business idea in mind. And that was when we could break down of, is there any skills that you wanted to learn? Is there anything like that? Like, did you want to do it on? Because I think I started in like online sales anyway. It's, do you want to keep going in online sales? Do you want to offer a service? Do you want to be face to face? Do you want to be all this sort of stuff? And that came from having sort of like an idea of what you want to do around that sort of business stuff. Like if you want to be in front of a computer all day, are you someone who's that like very physical with their hands, and do they want to use that skill that they've already built to go out in there? I think it's just that idea around what you actually want to do and where you want to go is going to be something that's so important as well.
For sure. And I think we'll dig into that more because the fourth section of this is how to actually come up with that idea. So I think we'll dig into
Mm,
all that more, but that's exactly right. You need to, first of all, you need to have a drive. You need to know what the roadmap looks like. You need to have the idea. And then you basically, outside of that, and this is kind of, we're going crossing more business stuff. What does the business need to start? But it needs to solve a problem. It needs to solve a problem. And
absolutely.
like, there's not a company, business, product or anything out there right now that doesn't do that. If everyone in the world knew how to do everything, service businesses wouldn't exist. If
Yep.
everyone in the world could manufacture their own products for everything they wanted to do, products business wouldn't exist. The problem and solution is really the biggest variable. Is if you have an idea and it doesn't solve a problem, it's not a business. It needs to be in such a fashion that the idea is, and like my personal preference or our personal preference within the Sequoia project is that it's simple, it's logical, and it generates a result because those are things
Absolutely.
that you can measure. But it can be whatever idea that you want based on your skills, based on the equipment that you have, based on the area
Yeah.
you live in. As long as it solves a problem, you've got a business. So I think in terms of what you need on the business side, that's fairly well covered. On the personal side, I would say the first thing that you need to have is an understanding that you are going to make mistakes. Um,
Mm,
don't
and a
don't
willingness to.
think, and 100%, and yeah, being able to lean into that, but don't think for a second that if you try anything, and I think a key distinction here is when people think about business, they think because there's such a high upside that the
Yeah.
downsides are equally as scary. They're not. If you were going to, if you're a 35-year-old man and you wanted to just pick up ice skating, you're gonna make mistakes. But because
Yeah.
it's not in business. Like, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to fall over a few times, but who cares? Business is exactly the same. I hear a lot that people think that, oh, if you make a mistake in business, then like everyone's going to be like, oh, you idiot, you shouldn't have done that. That's so
No.
risky. But it's the same as if you're going to pick up anything at any age, you are going to make mistakes before you're great. You can't pick up a cricket bat and be, Ricky Ponting. Like that just doesn't happen. You
Yeah.
have to understand mistakes are going to be made. And like Coby said, be willing to lean into them. So that's probably the first thing for me on the key side is if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to make mistakes or isn't willing to keep making mistakes, then you're going to have a hard time. Doesn't matter how good your idea is. And you're going to have a
Mm.
hard time. You have to be able to go, cool, I'll take that on the chin and I'll move on to the next one. What else? Have you got anything else personal there?
I don't particularly, but just building on that, I think making the mistakes is going to be the key thing that's actually going to make you grow in anything in life.
Mm.
Mistakes is one of the best teachers and best forms of data that you can probably have when it comes to business, when it comes to personal life in general. So
Yeah.
making those mistakes, which, yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that it's going to be so important. I mean, both of
Yeah.
us have probably made plenty.
Oh, I look at mistakes that I made 7 years ago, and yeah, like I was younger than I was, I had less experience. I look
Mm.
at them and I go, dude, how did you not see that coming? But that's my job now, looking back in retrospect. Everything's better in 2020 hindsight, you know? Um,
Yeah, I
but
want to just really quickly throw
yeah,
something in there that you don't need, but it makes the process so much easier,
mm,
and it's someone who's been there and done that. I
that
think
that is helpful. Yeah.
it's not necessary. Anyone can figure it out on their own. But
Mhm,
on the topic of making those sort of mistakes and everything, if you go to someone who's made those kind of mistakes, you're going to get to that path so much faster. Um, if I had have just kept going on with what I was doing prior to meeting you, then I could have still definitely gotten to where I want to be, but it would have just been so much slower because
mm,
I wouldn't know that information. Because I feel like so much of business and life is everything of which I'd always say to you is like, I don't know what I don't know. You'd always ask me questions, and I'm like, well, I don't know what I don't know here, so I don't know what questions I should be asking in this fact.
mhm,
So it's definitely not a necessity, but it can make your system so much easier. I mean, if you're going out and picking up an instrument for the first time, you can
mhm,
absolutely teach yourself everything you need to know about guitar and put in the time and really practice and everything. And all of the information's online. But there's
mm,
so much information out there versus if you get a guitar teacher and they take you through your personal journey, they figure out that maybe your problem is your chord shapes, the problem is actually your strumming, anything like that. That's something that you might not have picked up on your own, and it just
mm.
makes the journey so much faster.
Yeah, there is something to be said on that, and like you said, it's absolutely not a necessity. But even when you said before, like you had the first few things that we talked about, which was the drive and the attitude and everything like that,
Absolutely.
didn't have the idea. For someone who has had plenty of ideas, implemented them, and built businesses out of them, I was like, cool, don't worry about the idea. That's easy. That's something we solved in an afternoon. Yeah, that's something we solved in a couple of hours.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Rather than a couple of months or a couple of years. So it's all it does is makes the timeline shorter. And
Mm,
I have a lot of people who say to me, they're just like, all right, dude, like, why would I need to invest money into you helping me when I can learn this on my own? I say 100% you can learn this on your own. I said, but when have you ever seen a gold medalist at the Olympics who got there without a coach? Now,
yeah.
the reason is because there there is a window. There is a window. There is an age gap in the Olympics between 16 and 28 is really when you were in your prime of your career.
Mm,
So if you don't learn as much as you can possibly learn in that window, the chances of you actually getting a gold medal are very, very, very slim. So that's why they all have coaches. It's not about what you will learn. You have to learn those skills to participate in those disciplines anyway. But it's
absolutely.
about how quickly you can learn them. That's what makes the difference. So again, not a necessity by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't have one. I did not
No.
have one, and I still got here. You will get to where you want to go if you have everything in this list anyway. It's just a matter of time. Where Kobe is, even in these first 6 months, I wouldn't have dreamed to be in my first 3 years. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
So it's not a necessity, but it is helpful. Something that I would have is like on this list, especially on the personal side, is I would have a set of principles that you understand, you agree with, and that you
Yeah.
stick by. And I've implemented, like, I've shown you how I implemented my systems and my principles, and you've adopted some of them in your own businesses and stuff. And the reason why they're there is because they work. And when
Absolutely.
you start to build a business, you have so much to do. There's so many actual responsibilities, and so many, you have to use your time so wisely. It's easier just to rest on those things rather than sit there for hours overthinking or questioning or things like that. So, for example, a few of mine, and we should probably do an episode just on this because this is pretty
Oh,
helpful.
definitely.
But a few of mine are like, make everything a yes or no. Like black and white is all I care about. Gray is useless to me. If you can ask yourself a question and get a yes or no answer, you can do something with the information. If you can't, if you say, what am I going to do tomorrow? That's an open-ended question. Keep asking the variation of that question until you get a yes or no. Am I going to work tomorrow or go to the beach? Am I going to go to work? Yes or no. Am I going to go to the beach? Yes or no. Get it down to a point where it's yes or no, because that can be measured and it's something you can do. Um, yeah, and a couple other things is like I have recipes for confidence and things like that, which is another massive part of making mistakes, which
Oh, yeah.
is if you make a mistake and you get a good result, how do we do it again? If you make a mistake and get a bad result, what would you change and do it again until you get a good
Yep.
result? And you just constantly pump out these principles so that my responsibility or Coby's responsibility isn't to get a good result every time we do something. It's to put it through the machine because the machine has the highest percentage chance of success. And that's what we do. You're the machine. If
Yeah, I'm the
anyone didn't see that,
machine.
Coby's sitting there pointing at himself if you're on audio only. But yeah, so that's what I would say. If you have those, at least these things, and there are many more, but these are like the core basic things. If you have these personal and business things, that's all you actually need. And again, the
Mm,
subheading of this is, what do you need? That's all you need. You don't need
yep.
anything more than that. You don't need to have a PhD. You don't need to have, some $1 million loan from a bank or anything like that. This is what we're talking about, is what you need to get started. Personal and business. If you have those things, we can come up with the idea, and we're going to do that in
Yeah.
just a minute.
So much of it just is mindset.
Anything else to add in there?
Nah, nah, you covered it.
Cool. Beautiful. Fantastic. So let's quickly touch on, I just want to do a couple minutes on what you don't need. Okay. Because
Yes.
I get told a lot, and like we've helped, close to 700 businesses now. I get told a lot of before I start, I need this. You actually don't. So what you don't need is a ton of capital to get started. You don't need 100
Mm,
grand in the bank ready to spend. That's the first thing that you don't need. Second thing you don't need, more often than not, especially if you're a first time business owner, is some level of finance, high interest finance, anything like that. You don't need a business loan. You don't need to spend $300,000 on your first business. You can start a simpler version of that business, or a business in an industry where you have a different experience, and build that capital to then reinvest in it. You don't need,
absolutely.
you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be I was a boilermaker. I was a tradesman. I went through trade school, into a trade, worked the trade, and then started a business. You don't have to go to some fancy school. You don't have to have a $200,000 education. You don't have to be in the
No.
top 5% of IQ tests or anything like that. Anyone can do this. It is for everyone. And I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's not for everyone." There are people that wouldn't like to do it. That's different. If this doesn't interest you, then it's not that you can't do it; it's that you don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, it's not there isn't a certain personality type or something like that means, oh, only these people can do it. It's just not true. So you don't need some fancy education. You don't need to be some personality type. You can be
No.
anyone doing anything. What do you got, bro?
I think something the big one that I was gonna say is you don't need money.
Mhm.
Everything you can start something for free. But I think that such a common misconception is to start, you don't need a lot of time.
Mm.
So many people start their side hustles or anything like that for just an hour a day, or like a couple of hours just a week, and that gets them by to just start going there. I think so many people think that they need to be putting in that 9 to 5 every single day
Mm.
to try and get their business to grow. You don't. So many people start it just because they have hobbies on the side, and that's an hour of their day going there. So you don't need a lot of money, and you don't need a lot of time. They were kind of my two biggest ones to start off with, especially.
That's a really good point. You don't have If you have a job right now and you're thinking about starting a business, you don't have to quit your job to start a business. You absolutely
Absolutely
don't.
not.
What it's all about, just to give anyone who's listening to this that goes, oh, okay, I thought you did, or whatever it is, a little bit of context, is it is all about scale. Okay. So
Hmm.
the analogy I'll use for that is, if you wanted to understand how to put an entire car together, you wouldn't go and buy a garage and buy all the parts from Mercedes and buy them individually and try and figure it out. What you do is you buy a scale model, something that fits in your house, something you can work on the kitchen bench. You'd buy a scale model and you get to understand the components of how it works and how it goes together. So then you could take that level of knowledge and work it up to scale. So for example, if you're going to work on your side hustle for 1 hour a week, like Coby said, you might only need to acquire one customer instead of 10. So when you go, okay, this business is good. I've had this customer for 3 months. I know they're happy. I've got the feedback. You can then go and scale it up. Okay, now instead of putting 1 hour into this, I'm going to put 3 hours into this. I'm going to get 3 customers. And
Yeah.
those points of data, those key points of data are actually going to help you project into the future to a point where you can go, all right, well, now I know how to handle 3 customers. Now I know how to handle 10 customers. If I got this to 50, I wouldn't have to work my job anymore. That's when you can make the trade.
Mm.
So you learn the same lessons, you just learn them in the time frames might be a little longer because obviously if you put 100 hours into something, you'll get more results than if you put one in just because of time. But
Yeah, absolutely.
it still works the same. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to work 75 hours a week, and that's the only way you'll succeed. You can do it slowly, and you can actually mitigate the risk if you are employed right now. So that's a really good point as well.
Yeah,
But
well, I started that
yep,
full time 9 to 5 when I was started my business, and it was just it was a lot of
100%.
weekend stuff and after work.
I did it the exact opposite. I quit my job and went and started a business
Balls to the wall.
and spent all of my money. And the minute I understood how business worked, I was like, I never had to take that risk.
No.
It's different understanding. So yeah, that's a very good thing. What you don't need. Now let's quickly touch on how to get the idea together, how to get something, and like how to actually go. All right, I have something in mind. I can do it, and I want to work on it. Now, the first thing that I'm going to say, the first word that I want to say, it's only one word, is simple, 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 simple. Keep it simple. I understand people have big dreams. I understand people want to make apps, and I understand people want to do all this kind of really sexy, oh, we'll get investment, and run a funding round and do all this kind of shit. If you've never ran a business before, I don't care how much money you spend, you still have to learn how to run a business. You
Yep.
may as well do it with the least risk as possible, financial and otherwise, as opposed to taking on all this responsibility and owing hundreds of people money for seed capital. Just make it simple. So, for example, I'll give you a quick story on that, a quick, just to put it all together. I had a customer that came to the Sequoia project. He called me up. He was doing very well in his job. He's making mid to high 6 figures a year. He was getting old and he wanted to build a business that he could pay for his retirement, but he wouldn't just cut off his salary. It would help kind of substitute his income.
Hmm.
So he said to me, I want to buy a car wash. And I said, what do you know about car washes? And he said, nothing, but I heard if you pay 1.2 million, you'll get the land, you'll get it up and it'll just make money. And I said, would you like to gamble with $1.2 million? You can go to the casino. He said, well, no, I don't want to gamble with it. That's why I'm talking to you. And I said, okay, here's the deal. How many car washes do you see on your way to work every day? He said, there's probably 5. And I said, what is the difference between them? And he said, I have no idea. And I said, that is exactly what your customer is going to look at if you put a 6th one in that area.
Hmm.
And I said, do you use those car washes? And he said, no. And I said, what would make you start using those car washes? And he says, I don't know. And I said, these are the kinds of questions we have to answer before we spend $1.2 million. So we looked at the problems that he had in his life, and he had 2 young sons. He had a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old, and they both hated their jobs and they wanted to do something for themselves. They both wanted to be in business. And I said, why don't you grab your 2 young guys, go around the block, every house around the block, and tell them that you 2 young fellas are going to wash their car for $50. Get as many houses as you can, and every weekend the boys can wash the cars and you can meet the customers and build a little database. They did that and they ran that for 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, they had so many people who wanted these 2 hungry young fellas to wash their car, and they loved the guy that was talking to them and organizing it all. He had 200 people who had business with him previously. And I said, if you contacted these 200 people and said, hey, I'm going to start a car wash. Would you like to have some sort of membership or exclusive discount to my car wash? Don't you think you could start a car wash with some customers coming in the door who know about you and are willing to spread your word of mouth? He said, that's exactly what we're going to do. He started his car wash and he did 100 washes on his first day from customers that he already had. So he spent 6 months acquiring money, intel, and getting into the community and understanding what they needed. That he did surveys on, hey, would you rather a jet wash or would you like one with like the flappy panel things? All that kind of stuff. He used all the data that he accumulated, and he started a business with no money down, a couple of buckets and sponges and a hose. No money down, got all the data he needed. And when he started his business, he knew about business, he had customers, and he started on the right path. Which means everyone that went out there to his wash had a great day on grand opening day. They knew him, they knew his sons, they knew them by name. They spread the word. You should come down and see X name guy's car wash. I'm going down there on the weekend. He's going to have a sausage sizzle, whatever. They spread the word of mouth for him. No money down. Instead of spending 1.2 and hoping, he spent no money, got all the answers that he needed to spend a 1.2 wisely. So you don't have to rush out and start some sexy business. It can just be simple. Simple is the key word.
That is really good.
Mm. Yeah.
That's an unreal
You
story.
like,
Holy shit.
you like that?
I do. I was like, that
Yeah.
whole time. If anyone's watching the video, I was just like staring at the screen. I was like, oh my God, this is a good story.
But that is why simple matters, because simple gets results. It gets results very quickly, and you can learn exactly what you don't know about business so that you can financially and intellectually support your massive dream. Now, I never thought I'd be doing the Sequoia project on day one. I never thought I'd have the construction business vehicle. I never thought I'd have any of that on day one. But when I learned through a very simple business, picking up trash, how to make it work, how to make it great, and how to make people want it, and how to make people advertise for you, that was when I went, I can start any business I want. And that's where you want to get to. And you can do it with something as simple as picking up trash. You can do it with something as simple as taking people's photos. You can do it with something as simple as washing people's cars in the neighborhood. Simple, simple, simple. So that's the first thing. First criteria, is it simple? Second thing is, does it solve a problem? Needs to solve a problem. So if you have an issue, if you go, all right, cool, I want something simple, I want something that can solve a problem, then these are just the boxes that we're going to check. Then we go on to, what skills do I have? Because we want to be able to start something quickly. We want to be able to start something right now. What skills do I already have that I could deploy, I could use in such a fashion that I would turn up on day one and the service or the product of that thing would be so good, because I've done it for the last year, 5 years, 10 years, that I wouldn't have to stress about the service. I know I can nail that. Then the last thing is, what equipment, network, things outside of ourselves could we deploy, could we use to make sure that we can get these things together? If you want to go to the next level and you want to go, all right, well, this sounds great, but everyone in the neighborhood is doing plumbing. Everyone in the neighborhood is doing pressure washing. Then the last box, if you get those, the rest of them get down. The last box is, how could I do it differently than it's already being done? If you have those things, you have an idea for a business, and all you need to do is go, what skills do I have? What equipment do I have? What does the use of those things solve the problem? And if you're thinking about yourself, well, they do, but everyone's doing it. You go, what would I do differently to everyone else? And then the last thing is it so simple I could put it together and I could do it right now? You have that. You have your idea. You don't need any more ideas. You just, if it ticks all of those boxes, if you've got something in each one of those categories or those columns, you are ready to start a business. That's all you need. That's how you get your idea. And we might do a quick one on your photography thing, because that's exactly what we did 2 years ago. We said, what's in your room? Well, you remember the story. How did we get around to that?
You got me to give you a list of every single thing in my room, in the house, and everything, just anything that I can think of, even if I didn't think it could make money or anything like that. Got me to get a list of every single thing. And one of the things was a really old camera that I bought off a friend for $200, and it was just sitting in my room. Never used it. Never even learned how to use it. And I think you just said, like, can you use a camera? I said, look, I know the basics, but I'm sure I could learn. Did a little bit in high school. And you went, I want you to just learn every single thing you can over the weekend about this camera, and we'll start there. And I think I went on YouTube, Googled everything, pretty much sent you everything that I had a whole list, spoke to every single person, pretty much used anyone I can to try and find this skill. And then I think within maybe a week or two or anything, we were up offering free shoots and talking to literally anyone I knew. If someone owned a business, if someone had kids, if someone had like a family event coming up, anything, messaging anyone on my Facebook, talking to family, post on Facebook, everything, just offering something for free, letting them know I'm learning this skill. Are you interested in having some free photos of your family or whatever?
And let me just interrupt you right there, because I want to go through this category, through this framework in real life. We went, what skills or equipment do we have? We have a camera, and you had some background in editing and doing things like that.
Knowledge.
So that's the first one. The second thing was, we said, who are our networks? Who can we speak to, and who can we get in this and to leverage this so that we can give away some stuff for free, so we can learn what we're doing. So we're already doing this framework exactly as we described it already.
Business, friends, family.
The third one was, what problem did it solve? Now, where you live in a country town, there were photographers, but that wasn't actually framed in such a way that it was affordable. It wasn't framed in a way that it was access for things like kids' birthdays and just the small things, capturing the memories in people's lives. So it solved the problem because it was very accessible. We had a ton of time to be able to do it, which means we could do it quick, and It was a matter of we were framing it in a different light, which was we're here to capture those small memories, the memories that, someone usually has to be out of the camera or out of the frame to take. That's where we
Yep.
come in. So we solve the problem there. Keep going.
Well, yeah, I think that was kind of the real basics there. We ended up getting a couple of people that came in, and they ended up talking. They ended up talking to their friends and family afterwards. They've gotten their photos and all that sort of stuff taken, and then we slowly built up that price from $0 to $50 to $100 to $250, and then we went out and shot weddings. So we went from doing things like shooting some real small, even if it was just kids playing at the park and families and all that sort of stuff. Like you said, our main thing was capturing quality memories. It was the real small memories that we can do real close together, and that ended up bringing repeat customers from just some of the stuff from the kids playing to their birthday parties then afterwards then, and then even shooting him a message being like, hey, happy birthday to the little man that we shot, blah, blah, blah. We shouldn't shoot a little man. We can't say that.
With a camera. We did it.
Yeah,
we
with
took a
the
photo.
camera.
But again, let me stop you there real quick because I want to point another to people who are listening to this going, all right, how does this all tie together? So we've covered 3 already. We covered another one there. There were plenty of photographers in town. How do we do it differently? This is key because it's simple and it's free. Everyone else was asking for money and then you give us trust. We did it the other way around. We said, give us your trust first. We want your trust and we're going to charge you for it. If you give us our trust, if you let us capture this moment, then down the line, if you tell someone that you liked it, you post those photos, whatever. If they ask, just tell them CE Media did it for you. That was the difference. That's how we did it differently. Everyone else is like, photo shoot $700. I'm not coming out for anything less. We came out for free, got the trust, established the trust in the marketplace. And then our customers went out and said, this guy's really good. This guy's fantastic. And that trust built us more customers. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. Even while we were charging like the higher prices and everything, I remember we did some weekends where I went, look, I just want some shoots and some extra money and like to get out there with people. I'm going to do this whole weekend for shoots for $25.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we just did 10, 15 shoots in that weekend.
Yeah, we were flat out for it. And it was just little half an hour shoots. We went out there, shot literally anything they wanted. It didn't matter. We went out and shot it. And then even got to a point where we were shooting like council stuff for the local council and like debates and all that sort of stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah. And the key thing is again there is because we did it differently to everyone else. Like as our prices went up, that like prices went up. Of course they did. You can't do everything for free forever. That's not a business. But the prices went up. We ended up being around $150, depending on the shoot, $150 to $350, depending on what the normal daily shoot was. If we had video, if whatever it didn't.
Yeah.
Weddings and everything like that were much more expensive. But what we had done is we had established such a groundwork in the community and such a basis of trust was that even when those prices went up, if you had a customer that had 2 free shoots with you when you first started, when they paid you $300 for a shoot, it was more like divided by 3.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm just paying $300 for a shoot now. It was like, well, I had 2 shoots for free. If I'm going to use anyone, I'm going to use a guy that gave me 2 shoots for free. So it was all built of this trust thing so that as Coby's skills got better and as his timelines got shorter and the editing got nicer and everything he was getting himself a pay rise for getting better at business. Where a lot of people go wrong is they set the price, they set the hourly, they set whatever it is, and then they get better at the business. But the price stays the same, which means you're actually giving yourself a pay decrease because you used to get paid by the hour and you were bad at it. So it took you 10 hours, but now you're great at it. It takes you 3 hours.
Yep.
If you still charge by the hour, you can only charge 3 hours. So you're getting better and you're going downhill. Coby did his differently, which meant that when it came to paying the higher prices, everyone was like, you've already given us so much value. We don't care. And that was the key point about doing something differently. And the best part is, if we want to tick our last box quickly, is it was simple. It was so simple.
Absolutely. Went out and took photos.
Yep. Went out and took photos. We offered photos. We went and took the photos. We edited the photos. We sent the photos. We got paid.
Yeah.
Period. Like it was as simple could be. And that's what started everything for Coby in all of his business knowledge. All the lessons he learned started from something that was that simple. And at every stage when he was like, hey, I'm ready to do something else. Look how good the quality of these pictures are. Toyota Australia was commenting on his pictures. When he was taking pictures of BRZs and stuff like that. They're not BRZs. Well, like 86s for Toyota.
Yeah, the 86.
But he was taking photos that were so good that people were reaching out to him and that was helping build his business. So yeah, that just goes to show, even with someone on this podcast who's got 2 years experience, we did exactly the same framework 2 years ago and it works. And I did the same framework 7 years ago and it works. And it's worked in every business that we've touched since then. So, I mean, dude, we're already at 35 minutes. I didn't think that was going to take that whole time. We're not going to have time to mess around with these segments. But yeah, that is, if you're thinking of starting a business, those are the things you need, personal and business wise. Those are the things you don't need. And that's how to get your idea together. And it's simple. It might sound simple, but you could do it in half an hour and you will have an idea or a list of businesses. I can try these. If they're simple, they're logical, and they will generate a result, then you have absolutely nothing to lose because you've put no money down. You haven't got a loan. You don't have any finance to pay.
Yep. Very simple frameworks.
Cool. Happy with that, dude?
100%. Yeah. No, I think that's all covered really well. And I think the best thing about it is it's easily actionable. Like anyone can go away from today and start putting that in either their current business if it's too difficult, or if they were just thinking of starting that business, they can just bring it in now. And that's literally the basic frameworks that they can go to get started. So I think that's amazing.
The other thing is right now we are in the beta testing of the TSP group, and the first week is absolutely free. So we've got some people in there right now testing everything. If you have listened to this and you go, hey, I want to test my question, I want to ask Coby and Dale my question and see if my idea is good or anything like that, jump in, do 6 days in there, get as much value as you want, and then cancel it and get out. We don't care. We just want people to have good information. It is there. Use it if you want. Even send us a message on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, wherever you're watching this. Send us a message directly. Test your idea with us. Go, this is the idea I have. What do you think? We'll give you feedback, honest feedback.
Absolutely, guys. So if you guys enjoyed listening to episode 7, we are getting through them now. Feel free to leave a like, comment, share it with your friends, get it out there to people who you think may be interested in starting businesses and just getting some real simple ideas, and start implementing some of these into the business too. It'd be really interesting to see, even if you guys leave a comment with what you guys found with your framework and what you found was simple, or how you guys were doing it differently, everything like that. It'd be great to share in the community, especially in that school group there, to hear what everyone's doing. So do all the fun stuff, and we'll be catching you guys in episode 8.
Sounds good to me. All the links are where you need them. Go and have fun. All the best. Talk to you soon.
Easy.